Have you ever wondered what's really going on inside someone's head when they decide to give 100% at work or just, phone it in? Well, it turns out there's actually a hidden mental math behind that choice, and today we're going to unlock its formula.
Okay, so picture this. You've got a star employee, a real go-getter, who all of a sudden seems completely checked out. Your first thought might be, oh, they've gotten lazy, or maybe something's going on at home. But what if the real answer is way more of a rational calculation than just a simple lack of effort?
So here's what we're going to cover in this explainer. We'll start with the motivation puzzle itself, then we'll dive into a really powerful formula and break down the three key questions behind it. We'll see what happens when that math goes wrong, and maybe most importantly, how you can actually use this framework to fix it.
To solve this puzzle, we're going to turn to a psychologist named Victor Vroom. Way back in 1964, he came up with a pretty groundbreaking idea that totally changed how we think about what drives us at work. He argued that motivation isn't just about what we need, it's about a conscious thought process.
And this was a huge shift in perspective. You see, earlier theories like Maslow's hierarchy were all about the content of our needs, things like safety or self-esteem. But Vroom's expectancy theory, it's a process theory. It's all about the mental calculation we do before we decide to even try.
Vroom basically said that our motivation isn't some mysterious force. It's the product of a logical, rational choice that's based on the answers to three very specific questions. And this choice, well, it can be boiled down to a simple but incredibly powerful formula.
And here it is. Motivation equals expectancy times instrumentality times valence. I know, it looks a bit academic, but just stick with me. Once we unpack what these three words actually mean, you're going to see how totally intuitive this really is.
So how does this whole thing actually work in our brains? Well, each of these three components, expectancy, instrumentality, and valence, it really just corresponds to a simple, direct question we subconsciously ask ourselves before we commit to doing anything.
First up is expectancy. This one is all about self-belief. It's your personal conviction that if you put in more effort, you'll actually get better results. And this belief, of course, is shaped by things like having the right skills, the right resources, and just a really clear idea of what the goal is. So to put it simply, expectancy just boils down to this one question. If I try harder, can I actually do this? Right? Because if the answer is no, why would you even bother starting?
Next, we've got instrumentality, and this one is all about trust. It's the belief that if you perform well, you will actually get the reward or the outcome that was promised. This link is absolutely critical, and it really depends on having transparent systems and leaders you can trust.
So, the second question is just as straightforward. Okay, if I succeed, am I really gonna get the prize? Because if you think that prize is just a mirage, your motivation just vanishes.
And finally, there's valence. This is the value part of the equation. It's all about how much you personally desire the reward that's on the table. A big cash bonus might be super motivating for one person, while someone else might value an extra week of vacation way more. It is completely subjective. And this all leads to that final gut check. Do I even want this prize? Because if the reward being offered doesn't mean a thing to you, then the whole calculation just falls apart, no matter how confident or trusting you are. Okay, now we get to the most crucial, most brilliant part of this entire theory. Remember the formula? It's not expectancy plus instrumentality plus valence. It's a multiplication. And as we all learned in grade school math, what happens when you multiply anything by zero? Let's go back to our star employee. They desperately want that promotion. That's a high valence. And they totally trust that the best performer will get it, so that's high instrumentality. But maybe they've got a little case of imposter syndrome, and they secretly believe they just don't have the skills for that next level job. Their expectancy is zero.
So what's their total motivation? Well, it's 1 times 0. And the result is a big, fat 0. Nothing. A single broken link in that chain, and all motivation is gone. It's not laziness, folks. It's a failed calculation. All right, let's try another one. This employee, they know they can do the job, no problem, high expectancy. And they really, really want that end-of-year bonus, high valence. But their boss has a history of making excuses and not paying people what they're owed. They have zero trust in the system. Their instrumentality is 0. And the result? Exactly the same. 1 times 0 times 1
equals 0. They know they can do it, they want the reward, but they just don't believe they'll actually get it. So why bother trying? Again, motivation hits a brick wall. So if you're a leader, this isn't just some cool theory. It's a diagnostic tool. It's a user manual for motivation. You don't just go around yelling, be more motivated. You have to figure out which of these 3 variables is hovering near 0, and then you work on that specific lever. So how do you pull these levers? Well, for expectancy, it's all about empowerment. Give people training, the right tools, and clear, achievable goals. For instrumentality, it's all about trust. Create transparent reward systems, and most importantly, keep your promises. And for Valence, it's about listening. Just talk to your people, find out what they truly value, and then tailor the rewards to match. So, the big takeaway here is that Vroom's theory frames motivation as a conscious, logical choice. We aren't just these passive reactors to our own needs. We are active calculators, constantly weighing the odds and the payoffs before we decide to invest our energy. And to put it all in context, you can see here how Vroom's theory really stands apart from the others. It's not about what we want, like Maslow, or how we compare ourselves to others. It's uniquely focused on the internal process, that personal, rational calculation that drives our every move at work. In the end, it all really comes down to this core idea from Victor Vroom himself. Our behavior isn't just about wanting things. It's about our expectation that our actions can actually lead to those things. That connection, that perceived link between our effort and the outcome, that's everything. So, I'll leave you with this question to chew on. When you look at your team, or hey, even yourself, and you see a lack of motivation, don't just jump to the conclusion that it's a bad attitude. Instead, ask, which variable in the formula is broken? Is it expectancy, instrumentality, or valence? The answer might just be the key you've been searching for.